Welcome back to the GTN Show. Oh, God, what is there even to talk about this week, Heather?
Well, maybe the fact that Lucy Charles Barclay is racing at WTCS Leeds this weekend against all of those short course stars.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one, actually. I mean, she's going to be up against some of the world's best short course racers. Will she rip it up, or will she go home with plenty to learn? We also have a prestigious 185-mile coast-to-coast running record and electronic bike brakes.
All right, we're going to kick off Reacts this week with a nice story of three triathletes who have just completed 6 Ironmans distance races in 6 days. Now, they've done this themselves off their own backs. It was Jonathan, Matthew and Rob, and apparently they're suffering quite a bit having completed, especially Rob apparently has done his calf, and he said that, I was asking if there's sort of a recap. Yeah, he said not yet. They are still in the recovery phase, but I think they did just up the road locally. There's some really nice pictures and this nice little video to take a look at. Well, they've been doing all of this in aid of the Able Foundation, a charity that they chose, and they've already raised, I think, £7,000 at the time of filming this, so they're on their way to their target. But definitely impressive efforts, for sure.
Yeah, that really is. Next up, though, that I've spotted actually is, well, you just have to watch it. Imagine this, doing a 4x400 relay, running flat out around an athletics track, and then boom, the lights go out. God, imagine that running full pelt and then you just can't see where you're going. So, yeah, I thought it was fantastic.
I think they were almost round the bend, weren't they? So it's kind of like just trying to run straight in the dark. Yeah. I think after a while you'd be okay, but it's the initial one because your eyes just lose it, don't they?
I mean, I imagine how many collisions, well, you can't see.
Yeah.
Next up, we have, well, we've been following, I want to say it's been entertainment, but I feel very sorry for them. The Kunamas, who James obviously joining the team soon, is currently in quarantine in a hotel room in London.
Oh my God, it looks like torture. Now, Jodie has been quite vocal on her Instagram. If you want to kind of feel better about your day and sort of send them some nice vibes, take a watch of this.
So the kids are on their bikes. They've been on their bikes now for 50 minutes, waiting for someone that said they'd take them out for exercise to arrive and take chaperones down. It's pretty hard. To be honest, yeah, not really okay.
Well, we send our love to them and support. Hopefully they'll be with us very soon. Next one from Jan Frodeno, spilling the beans.
Yeah, he's got a little Instagram series going on here, and he's sort of telling stories that I guess are related to coffee and his passion of triathlon. And this latest story was from a couple of years ago, but quite sort of a good insight into how Jan, I guess, sort of goes about his planning. Now, he loves coffee and he uses it as part of his, uses the caffeine side of things for racing. And it was at the time when he started using Morton gels, which we've tried before, and yeah, pretty nice gels, but originally they didn't have any caffeine in. So he was adding a mix of cold brew coffee into his sports drink. So he was still getting the caffeine hit during a race and he was using the gels, so the combination of both. And he got to this event, I think it was Frankfurt, wasn't it? There he couldn't find any cold brew coffee because it just was not quite hip enough, and it's quite a speciality thing. And sent his friend out to basically go and find some, and he managed to find some from a cocktail bar and bought a bottle of it, which I think was a fair price to pay for your race nutrition, because they were being used for espresso martinis, and he used that in his drinks.
Ingenious, I guess. That's actually quite a good little tip. Maybe I should start adding coffee or cold brew.
Well, I was watching it, I was like, oh, I don't really like drinking and eating much when I'm racing.
It's like a jelly-like coffee.
Well, then maybe not.
Oh, you know, maybe it's something we give a go. Next one, though, from the Ineos Grenadiers. I love this one. It's a very slick and quick pit stop from the Giro final stage, when Ghana actually still, despite having a puncture and having to stop and change bikes, still went on to win this TT with the fastest time. But
no excuses.
Well, talking of pit stops, I mean, be quicker than some of the F1 teams recently.
I think that isn't hard. I think it was Red Bull that couldn't even get a wheel off the other day in a pit stop, so definitely be beating them.
Well, and also, I need to ask you, Heather, what's been going on this weekend? I noticed.
Yes, I was going to try and hide it, and I thought that would look even worse if I tried to hide it, because it would look like I'm guilty of doing something. But I have just been sea swimming, and I wore my thermal cap that I've worn all winter in a lake, and I went and swam in the sea for half an hour, and it's still too cold for me to get rid of my thermals, and the Velcro bit, I thought when I got out, I was like, oh, something stings a bit. Maybe it was a jellyfish. And when I went to put my cap on yesterday to swim back in the lake, I realised that that's exactly where my cap goes, and it has rubbed and left a rather embarrassing, hideous mark.
Just wasn't quite aligned properly, perhaps.
I don't know, I didn't even notice it because I was so cold, but...
Wow. That's the story you're sticking to anyway, Heather. Obviously a great weekend had. Next one is from Jo Brown.
Yes.
This is quite interesting, or not so interesting for
No,
her.
well, she's basically had a pretty traumatic few weeks, and I actually listened to the podcast recently explaining the whole ins and outs, but that would take us half the show. So she has updated us on her Instagram. She's got her short version of what happened. So had a very sore back, very sore, thought it was her muscles. Turns out it was a severe kidney infection, and then she had a 6-day fever, went to many hospitals. I think it was actually 3 hospitals in total, because they kept sort of sending her home. She rode in a few ambulances, dabbled in a COVID ward, didn't have COVID because she had tested positive for COVID, so she got put in the COVID ward, but then after that basically wasn't allowed out of it. Very long story, but I'm trying to stick to the short one. She spent a night sleeping in the ER room, stayed in isolation in a Portuguese hospital for 4 days because of this positive test, had many antibiotics, and then finishes with, I'm alive, oh, and I broke my nose.
How did she break her nose? Was that during
That was in the warm-up of the race for, I can't remember if that was Yokohama or Lisbon, but basically this kind of got, a lot of people picked it up and took pity on this horrific story that kind of just kept going. And there's actually been a GoFundMe page that's set up, and I think she was slightly embarrassed because she was like, you know, I am still okay, but this has just been a hideous
Well, yeah,
few
ultimately
weeks.
she's stuck, was stuck in a country that, you know, she didn't have healthcare or insurance for, so yeah, this would have been quite a costly...
But she is now home, and she just says, for now I'm going to keep hydrating and to try and make my kidneys hate me a bit less. A few weeks left on the road to Tokyo.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, good luck on that recovery.
Well, thoughts to you there. Last but not least, though, Lucy Charles Barclay to be racing the World Triathlon Championship Series race in Leeds this coming weekend. Now, Lucy certainly isn't shy of a challenge, having thrown herself into all the short course Zwift racing during lockdown, then the Super League Triathlon early this year. Well, now she will be going up against some of the best short course female athletes out there in the real world.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? It's kind of been, I guess, a good insight into the partial real world with Super League, because it's real world, but it's not, you're on a virtual platform, so there's no bike skills required, which she's happy to put her hands up about, isn't she? It's not like she's going, oh, I'm going to go in and smash this.
Absolutely, we'll get on to that in a second. I mean, apparently this all came about British Triathlon contacted her earlier this year just to see if she was still interested in racing some of the short course racing, because she has expressed interest in the past. And they very last minute apparently offered her a spot for Lisbon, I believe, but due to logistics it was a nightmare. They just couldn't do it. Fortunately, they've offered her a spot again for Leeds, which is amazing to be thrown straight in the deep end with a World Triathlon Championship Series race. Basically, because we're the host nation of Leeds, they get additional spots, and so they've allowed one for Lucy. Now, I did really like, as you said, she's open out and been very honest about the fact that she does lack bike skills. She's very used to going fast in a straight line. She hasn't done quick transitions and such, but she's showing all of that on her YouTube channel, which I think is really nice and really refreshing for a lot of people out there to see someone at the top of their game being so honest that they can't do a flying mount.
Happy to be vulnerable with it.
And going through that process of trying to learn, and well, she's seems to have learned without the pressure on her of a race day scenario. So it's going to be very interesting.
I'm actually feeling like excited but nervous to watch it.
Well, yeah, and typically Leeds is a very technical course, which makes me worried for her. But actually this year they've closed off the course going through the town centre, so it could play into hands and being sort of laps of Roundhay Park. I think there's a 180-degree turn at one point, but otherwise it's relatively simple, so could be good for her. But it's going to be so fascinating to seeing her up against the likes of Flora Duffy, who is going to be back racing at Leeds, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, we've been missing Flora, haven't we? It's going to be exciting. I mean, it's getting to the real crunch end of Olympic selection, but for the likes of Lucy and Flora, I guess that's more of just a chance to get out there and race without having to worry about the pressure. But then so many of these athletes are under the pressure of trying to get that final selection and everything. So
absolutely. I mean, for those who aren't aware, obviously Flora she's already qualified. Lucy, well, she can't qualify. The women's GB team has been selected already. But what are your thoughts on how Lucy will stack up against her?
I just think that the tactics on the bike are just going to... I mean, she's got so much power and so much guts, but I reckon if she can stay there with the bike, she will have burnt too many matches, because I think she's not going to be used to the surges. But then saying that, on Zwift, she does surges in the racing. Yeah. I want to say she's going to be on the podium. That's what I want to say.
I think it's going to be... I really don't know which way to go with this one. Ordinarily, if someone's stepping across from long course racing to short course, I'd say they're going to get a real shock when they get in the swim because of that mass start. Then Lucy won't be used to having 60-odd athletes around her swimming over the top of her. Obviously, she comes from open water swimming background, but she does have that quick get-out speed, so I don't think she'll find herself in trouble. It's that bike, the technicalities, like the quick corners. If she finds herself with Flora, will she be able to stick with her around the corner? Will she constantly be surging an extra couple hundred watts out of corners to get back on her wheel? It's going to be fascinating, but ultimately I do think she has the ability to come off the bike with the likes of Flora, and then it'll just be seeing if she's got that speed for the run.
Oh, exactly, I've got goosebumps.
Okay, now for the Tri News, and we have a new 185-mile Wainwright's coast-to-coast route record from Damien Hall. Now, he started, well, from the west to the east, from St Bees on the Irish coastline through to Robin Hood's Bay over on the shores of the North Sea. Now, he completed that crossing in 39 hours and 18 minutes, but beating the previous record, which has stood for over 30 years, set by Mike Hartley by 18 minutes, which is pretty close actually over that sort of time frame.
Especially considering it's a 30-year-old record.
Yeah.
Like, you would think that it would have been broken several times with all of these kind of, the way ultra running is just gaining so much momentum at the moment, and athletes can be professional as
I'm sure there have been many, many attempts. You've actually done some of the Wainwrights.
Yes, I have. I mean, I've walked them, and I saw so many runners, and I was just like, hats off to anyone. I think I walked like 5, and that took us all day, and I was really tired afterwards. But I'm just hoping that he finished with a pint of Wainwright at the end of it.
Oh, that would be good. Well, apparently, the whole kind of route is the equivalent of almost Everesting, which is quite a lot. And he actually said himself that he has hiked the coast-to-coast route in around 2007 and doesn't remember it being quite as tough as it was this time around.
Well, it says that people normally take around 12 days, and he did it in 2, or less than 2.
He actually, given everything that he does, I hadn't read this quote beforehand. I mean, he's done the Pennine Way, Bob Graham, all these sort of crazy routes. And he said, of all my record attempts, this one proved to be the most difficult and the one that forced me to dig the deepest.
Well, he did apparently start off picking up a bit of litter on the way, so I imagine if he dug the deepest, he probably left the litter picking to his team. But he did this on the Pennine Way, and he did a beach clean the day before his run, so he's always kind of trying to help the environment, which is great, because I was listening to a podcast recently, and he said, I know that, every footprint, physical footprint, I am leaving a mark, but hopefully I'm sort of undoing the damage by doing something positive on the way.
I really like that.
Which is cool. But talking of, Mark, before you go on, of the almost Everesting, aren't you doing something that's going to be almost Everesting in less time than that?
Well, I don't want to kind of get one up on Damien Hall or anything, but
yeah, he's a bit too local, isn't he?
I am doing, in a couple of weeks' time, oh God, it's coming around very quickly, I'm doing the Paddy Buckley round, which for anyone out there that knows maybe the Bob Graham round in the UK, the Paddy Buckley is kind of the equivalent, but takes place in Snowdonia. So it's, to put it in perspective, it's about 105 kilometres, but it's a challenge to run it in under 24 hours. Okay. And it is you pretty much do the height of Everest in that one route of 105k.
You've been out with your poles, haven't you?
I haven't been out testing it. Some people have seen on my social media, me and Sam head out one evening after work and ran into the night, testing out poles, how we attach them, because it is so hilly that we're going to need them for kind of going up and down.
Yeah.
But the hardest bit of this all, and what everyone says, you can just hemorrhage time by taking the wrong turning, the fog coming in, ending up on like bad terrain and ground, and just slipping and sliding everywhere. Yeah, exactly. So I'm definitely going into the unknown, as I often do here on the channel, but this is going to be a real tough one. But equally, you've got a
I know, but mine sounds like a walk in the park compared to yours, because it's the same distance, basically. It's going to be my first 100k, which I had entered last year, the Race of the Stones, and then I kind of completely forgotten about it. And a neighbour is doing it, and he'd started training. He's like, oh, Heather, how's your training going? And this was like, I don't know, a couple of months ago, and I was like, oh yeah, it's actually probably good. And because of COVID, I was like, it's probably not going to happen. I don't need to actually face this. And I have now, I'm 3.5 weeks into training. I say, like, I was obviously running before, but I've now upped my training, and I'm loving it, actually, just having a goal, because I've missed that for so long. So and weirdly, my body seems to be taking the mileage. Although saying that, I was like really chuffed this week. I've done a total of 92k of running.
That's good. That's more than I've ever done.
But I've got to do more than that in one day, so that's hard to get your head around, isn't it?
I've got to say, my total mileage hasn't been very good, but I've done some pretty good back-to-back days on weekends.
I've
done like 50, 60k in a weekend, but my overall weekly volume hasn't been anything close to 90k, so you're doing a good job there. I quite enjoy, and I've been enjoying seeing your routes as well, planning,
I did.
exploring.
We'll talk off camera. I did a fun one on the weekend.
Very cool. I mean, guys out there, if you ever want to get into ultra running, I really, really rate it. It's
definitely.
Great fun.
Talking of ultra and endurance, you might remember us talking about Jonas Dijkman, who is on his way around the world trying to break the record for, around the world triathlon, and he's now reached a new stage. So he's managed to get through Russia, which I think posed some problems. You might remember us on the show mentioning that he couldn't get a visa, and then the German Triathlon Federation stepped in to help him, so he managed to get through Russia, but he only had 60 days because his visa was going to run out, so it's all a bit of time pressure, but he's got out the other side, and apparently he's now trying to find a boat. It says here, as the next stage, he's going to cross the Pacific and currently looking for a sailing boat. But he's also had another slight problem, thanks to COVID again, which has really sort of put a spanner in the works for him. He was supposed to be then running across America once he's got across the Pacific. But at the moment, the borders are still closed, so he's looking at instead going from Tijuana to Cancun across Mexico. And he's supposed to be back in Munich at the end of the year, having covered the equivalent of 120 times an Ironman.
I wonder how desperate he'll get and if he'll end up doing a little rowing boat in a tin can across. Hopefully he gets his sailing boat.
Do you know, you've just done a very good tenuous link to the next piece, and don't think you even realised. This next bit of news is a guy called Ryan who is attempting a 400-mile triathlon. And I read this, like, great triathlon. Then he talks about how he hadn't been able to swim, and so he's forgetting about the swim part. And he's putting rowing in. And guess who he's doing it with? Old Sanchez.
Oh, Dirty Matt Pritchard.
Yeah, with Matt Pritchard. So he's going from, let me have a quick look here, from the highest point in Dublin, the Spire, and he's going to finish at the highest sort of building at the, coming out the Shard in London, which is 400 miles in total. So he's going to be running 60 miles, ocean rowing 96, and then cycling 245 for the last bit.
Matt is straight off of doing his Atlantic row, obviously in good rowing shape. So yeah, good team member for that one.
Yeah.
And finally, last week we discussed the 50k world record being broken. We discussed the incredible men's world record, but quite rightly, a couple of you out there pointed out that the women's 50k world record was broken in the same race, and we failed to talk about it. And I have replied to those people on YouTube and apologised because, in our defence, Yvette Van Zyl, who broke the world record, she, broke the world record, but it was actually the second fastest time in history
and
over that.
Yeah, and this year.
So we sort of missed it through kind of our searches on the internet because it was coming up as the second fastest time. But officially, it is a world record because Des Linden, who went the fastest time quite recently, it was obviously on an unofficial and unverified course. So there we go. She did it anyway, just to recap, an impressive time of 3 hours, 4 minutes and 23 seconds, which broke the previous official record of 3 hours, 7 minutes and 20 seconds, although obviously Des Linden managed to go just under the 3 hours. So we got there in the end, but obviously apologies to those people that had clocked that, and a big hats off to Yvette. But now for some tech news, and fancy this. electronic brakes.
I'm not sure I do.
Exactly. Shimano has been granted a patent for electronic braking system for bikes and I guess perhaps some smaller vehicles, where essentially when the user actuates and squeezes the brakes, a motor will then basically push the hydraulic fluid into the brake caliper and push the pistons out. So it's still working a very similar way, I guess, to a hydraulic brake, but you've now got a motor within the braking system, which makes me slightly concerned that should you run out of batteries or a charge that you suddenly wouldn't have brakes, but I'm sure there will. But what it does mean is that they can get rid of this kind of the hydraulic system that is normally in that kind of braking unit and make it much smaller, much sleeker. So rather than have this massive kind of bullhorn, which you do get on some of the brakes, they can make that a lot smaller and perhaps more ergonomic, I guess.
Wow. But you know how you can get a bit lax at charging your Di2? I reckon you're going to be on it with that.
Well, yeah, imagine that going down a descent and going, did I charge my brakes last night? Oh, God.
But no, exciting to see that development for sure. Well, there's another bit of news here from the UCI and Zwift, and they have teamed up with the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, to make an Olympic-themed series on Zwift, which is pretty cool. It's quite a big thing. It's running from the 1st to the 27th of June, so it started yesterday, and it is like lots of series they have on Zwift where they're going to have athletes leading this. I think you've got likes of Chris Hoy, Dame Sarah Story, Anna van der Breggen, Nelson Vales, and Schurter, so they're all going to be taking different sessions. And yeah, you can just get involved. It's open to absolutely anyone all around the world. And then I think they've got a bit of a race.
They've also got, what they call chase races, where they'll be offering men and women of all ages, fitness levels, opportunities to compete. But they're also going to be doing a special chase race where they'll have Olympians alongside celebrities and some of the community being able to take part in these races, and it'll be broadcast on June the 18th. So
that's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool way to get involved and really get into the Olympic spirit, which I feel kind of needs to start upping its energy.
Definitely.
All right, on to race news, and we've got 3 to cover this week. We're going to start off with another World Cup. They are coming thick and fast at the moment. We've just had the 3rd of the 5 in this megally compacted season. Sorry, megally, don't know if that's a word. But it was in Azzachina in Italy. It was a sprint distance race. And, well, all the nations who are still trying to get points were there, desperately trying to qualify. And other athletes were trying to prove to their selectors that they've got what it takes. And it was good to see on top of the podium Jonny Brownlee.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of people had their doubts about him, despite him getting his slot, the one and only men's slot for the GB team so far, and actually he's been slightly underperforming, so I think that's probably a relief for him, but also, brilliant to see him back on top. We had Adrian Brifford from Switzerland coming in second, who's been performing very well, quite consistently for a while. Great to see him there. And also Mario Mola, who also we haven't seen for a while, kind of on those top spots, but he's in 3rd place.
Yeah, well, and the women's race was, I think it was the first time on top of the podium for Marlene Gomez-Izinger from Germany. She had a really strong run. It ended up being a bit of a battle between her and Julie Deron, but she had to manage to outsprint her to take that win. So I think the German selection is still very much open, so I suppose that she's like, fingers crossed that's helping to her Tokyo selection. And then 3rd place went to Verena Steinhauser of Italy.
We also had Challenge St Polten on this weekend, which is a fabulous race. On the women's race, it was quite, I want to say, a dominating performance by Imogen Simmons. She came off the bike into T2 with over a 2.5-minute advantage over the reigning Ironman World Champion Annie Haug. However, Annie Haug also had to serve a 1-minute penalty in that transition, and then, well, we know what Annie's run is like. She just charged out and just slowly started eating away at Imogen's lead. I mean, Imogen's a good runner, so it puts Annie's run into perspective. And literally, it was nail-biting. Caught her just a couple of 100 metres from the end, surged past her to take that win. So Imogen coming in second, just 14 seconds behind. And then in 3rd, we had Maya Stage Nilsson. Yeah, well, the men's race wasn't quite as exciting, but doesn't mean it wasn't impressive. It was an incredibly impressive performance by Frederick Funk, who out onto the bike just
put his foot down and opened up a lead, and he never looked back. He came into T2 with a 4-minute lead and he won with a 4.5-minute lead. So yeah, a very dominating performance. That was ahead of Jan Straatman and then Maurice Clavel in third. So it's a 1-2-3 for Germany.
Okay, and then the final race we had was over in, well, near Girona actually. It was the trade-in 140.6 in triathlon. It's the Spanish long distance championships. And well, the times here aren't amazingly fast. I don't know exactly what the course is like, but I'm assuming it was pretty hilly, and I know it's pretty punchy around there when you got off into the hills. The women's race was won by Emma Bilham. Second went to Judith Vaquera, and third to Nikki Bartlett.
Yeah, well, the men's race, it was Sam Laidlow who took the win.
Quite convincingly, too.
Yeah, 5 minutes actually ahead of Victor Bagalo, and Morten Olsen finished in third.
And interestingly, also Cameron Worth making his kind of comeback to triathlon, and as we expect, came off the bike in the lead, but it seems like his lack of running has caught up, which I'm pleased to say has, because I think it would be quite, I guess, like, saddening for a lot of people out there if he did just go and dominate, having not really run for a long time.
He did put a funny post. I can't remember how he worded it, but yeah, we know Cam's got a good sense of humour, and he was sort of, I guess, frank about his run on that post.
Yeah. Also now for a quick PTO stats update, because we've had a fair bit of racing over the past couple of weeks. No clear and massive changes, but obviously last week we spoke about the incredible performance from Kat Matthews, and that she will likely have jumped up in the standings for the Collins Cup for the European team. And yes, she has. She is currently in 4th place. However, doing so, she knocked Imogen Simmons down a little bit. But imagine Imogen, after such an impressive performance this weekend, she'll be fighting back. So it's going to be very close between the two of them. They're currently sat in 4th and 6th, I believe. So obviously the top 3 are automatically qualified. So it's getting very tight, particularly on the European side. So yeah, only time will tell.
The cut-off can't be too far away, so every race is counting. But we are being spoilt with so many just brilliant races at the moment.
We really are.
Yeah, talking of which, actually, there is going to be another exciting race thanks to the PTO, because they have teamed up with British Triathlon to support a race at Eton Dorney, just up the road from us.
Yeah, that's taking place quite suddenly, actually, just in a couple of weeks' time, on the 12th of June, just down the road at Eton Dorney Lake, and they are putting in a £12,000 prize purse for the pro race there. And over quite an unusual distance, there's a 1.8 kilometre swim in the rowing lake, a fast and very flat bike around the rowing lake, a 60k loop, and then a 15k 3-lap run. So it's going to be fast and furious.
Distance, yeah. All right, time to take a look at your pictures and videos, as the case might be for this one, because we have this sent in from Scott. But it isn't actually of Scott, it's his daughter Orla running on the treadmill, and he said it would make her day if we give a shout out, but I just like the video anyway before I even read that.
Yeah, awesome. Well, brilliant work there, Orla. Next one from Caleb, and he sent in his custom wrapped bike. He's got a Diamondback engine, which is quite a distinctive shaped bike, but he's had it wrapped with the Tridot logo and graphics all over it. So yeah, fantastic
when
work
people
there.
struggle to find their stuff in T1, I don't think he's going to struggle to find his bike, is he? Especially with the matching disc wheel.
I mean, the wheels look absolutely mad with that, don't they? They look brilliant.
You're not gonna lose that anytime soon.
Next one though from Michael, and this is from Taiwan. Again, I want to shout out to him on just the matching kit and the wild kit he's got going on here.
Good kit game going on, isn't there?
He says on April the 25th there were multiple events, I guess, in Taiwan. I think that's what he's trying to say there. Challenge had 6,000 participants, and there was a smaller Ironman 70.3 with 400. Stupid enough, I went for a disc wheel. There was a wind warning, but it seemed okay until it wasn't.
Oh gosh, I wonder how many people have made that error.
But yeah, he said he loved every minute of it, not having changed anything. Well, maybe the disc wheel.
I mean, he still managed to pose whilst riding the bike on the disc wheel. That must have been a non-windy patch, because he's got one hand off, just, giving it a little hello.
But yeah, again, kudos for the colour coordination
And
with
the socks.
Calf socks, the tri-suit. I think even maybe the sunglasses with the running shoes. Yeah, good work there.
Yeah.
Well, do please keep sending in your photos, videos, whatever it is, using the photo uploaded on screen right now, or you can find the link in the description just down below.
All right, it's now time for Caption competition, and we had this picture of Patrick Langer at Ironman Tulsa last week. We've got a nice selection to share with you. First up, we've got Slap Jainog, who has where's that raccoon? Now, apparently, he says raccoons stole the athletes' snacks that were left overnight in T1 and Tulsa. Now, I didn't know that, but it just made me chuckle.
Yeah, I had no idea about that, so yeah. Daniel V, when coach says you can wear fins for that last set, and I'm sure there's probably quite a few people that can relate to that out there.
It is a nice feeling, isn't
it is, oh yeah.
Andy Taylor has this one. It ain't over until the Ironman sings.
Nice. Fergal Carla said, shout out to my man Jan. I'm coming for ya.
I'm sure Jan was very much aware of Patrick's performance, but the winner this week goes to Andrew Lovelock, who says, race events, lang may it continue. We're with you on that one.
Well, you are the winner. Get in touch and we'll ping a cap out to you as soon as possible. Now, for this week's Caption comp photo, it comes from the Arzakena World Cup, and it's someone doing, what's that pose? Is that downward dog?
It's upwards.
Upward dog.
Come on, Mark.
Oh my goodness. All right, yeah, that's right. Well, pop your captions in the comments section down below. And that is it for the show this week. We do have loads coming up on the channel, including a race between Sam and his dad and myself and my dad in a Pictor versus Threlfall battle, which was quite good fun, actually.
To seeing that one.
It really was. It was really close. We've got that as well as long tail versus short tail aero helmets. What's the difference? Why you should have one versus another, so on and so forth. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, well, hopefully you have enjoyed the show. Give us a like if you have. And talking of likes, if you look at these t-shirts that we're actually modelling. It's warmed up enough in the UK now that we don't have to hide them under jumpers. Well, there are 5 new colourways in the shop, including these. I can't remember the names of all of them. I think that's like sky blue, isn't it?
Sounds good.
Might be mink. I'm going to call it that. But yeah, do go and check those out. They're 100% cotton, so perfect because it's heating up a little bit now. But remember, if you haven't done so yet, do hit that globe and subscribe to us. And a couple of videos you might want to take a look at. If you're wondering why you're not getting any faster running, well, we've got a video for you just on that. And also, what is better, having more power or being more aero?